We turn now to the war in Ukraine. Russian authorities reportedly shooting down a Ukrainian drone today above the Russian Black Sea Fleet in Crimea. This comes amid new concerns about much more serious attacks and a possible nuclear disaster that could have devastating consequences well beyond Ukraine's border. NewsNation Washington correspondent Joe Khalil live tonight in D.C. with more. Joe, there's new warnings of false flags here.
Yeah, that's right, Natasha. And the possible threat of a nuclear plant in Ukraine unleashing radioactive material all throughout Europe, that threat is incredibly serious. Look, this conflict in Ukraine, we've already seen it sort of undermine global stability, but never to this level with the possibility of such catastrophe. And add to that questions about whether this scenario actually brings the U.S. even further and deeper into this war.
Ukrainian leaders are accusing Russian President Vladimir Putin of taking an unusually dangerous hostage. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, the largest in Europe. They warn Russian forces are planning to cut power to a large swath of Ukrainians just before winter, or worse, launch a devastating attack on the plant that could unleash an international radioactive disaster.
Якщо російський шантаж радіацією продовжиться, то це літо може увійти в історію європейських країн як одне з найбільш трагічних.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other European leaders warn that if the plant is attacked, radioactive material could spread throughout Europe to catastrophic ends for human life.
На жодній атомній станції світу не передбачений порядок дій на той випадок, якщо якась держава-терорист перетворює АЕС на мішень.
The area needs to be demilitarized.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres leveled this grim warning about any attack on the plant.
And we must tell it as it is. Any potential damage to Zaporizhzhia is suicide.
Some leaders going further. Tobias Ellwood, chairman of the British House of Commons Defense Committee, says any attack causing nuclear radiation to leak would be a breach of NATO's Article 5. Meaning the United States, the UK, and all NATO nations would be compelled to join the fight directly, engaging in war with Russia. President Putin agreed to allow neutral inspectors to view the plant following a call with French President Emmanuel Macron. Putin claims it's Ukrainian fighters who plan to attack the plant, leading to accusations that Russia is again laying the groundwork for a false flag operation. An attack designed to mislead the international community about who is really responsible.
And so we're seeing Russia put out statements saying that it's actually Ukraine who's planning this attack on that nuclear plant. That is alarming, according to Ned Price, who's a spokesperson for the State Department, because he says, as we mentioned, it does fit this pattern. Russia has been typically during this conflict putting out Ukrainian statements saying that what they are going to do is the very thing that Russia is planning on doing. So he says that for that reason, it's alarming, and the State Department is watching it very closely. Natasha.
All right, Joe, thank you. Meanwhile, the Pentagon announced that it is sending $775 million in weapons to Ukraine. The weapons will include missiles, drones, vehicles, and mine-clearing equipment to help Ukraine win its war against Russia. This aid comes at a critical time as Ukraine and Russia are battling for control of the eastern part of Ukraine. And joining me now to discuss this, Hal Kempfer, retired Marine intelligence officer and CEO of Global Risk Intelligence and Planning. Hal, great to see you as always. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Natasha.
So, Hal, if the nuclear facility were to be attacked and radiation spreads to neighboring countries who are a part of NATO, does the U.S. have an obligation to enter the war in Ukraine?
Well, I don't know that Article 5 would actually be kicked off like that. It would be a big discussion within NATO, but it's not an automatic trigger. That's an unusual thing. The other thing is, whereas everyone points to Chernobyl as the example, and of course Chernobyl was incredibly widespread radiation all over Europe and all over, what was the Soviet Union. This would actually probably be more localized, and there's a lot of safeguards there, a lot of concerns about the safeguards. It is obviously got galvanized global attention on it, but it's not going. At least we don't think it's going to be something like a Chernobyl. It'll be something smaller if it happens, but with the IAEA inspectors going in and everything else, hoping this won't be something we have to worry about.
Well, we also, meanwhile, another $775 million in new funds and weapons are going to Ukraine. Will this latest tranche of cash and arms have a major impact at this point?
No, I think it will. There's some key weapon systems in there, the Scan Eagles, about 15 of those tactically launched fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. We've been using them for 20 years with great success all over the world, places like Afghanistan, Iraq. They're going to have those. It provides eyes in the sky, sensors that they desperately need. Also, these high-speed anti-radiation missiles that basically go in and hit radar systems, taking out, among other things, the things that take out drones, but also taking out any anti-air capability. Both of these are huge. And then also the mine clearing equipment, which is they're uncovering more Russian terrain, and particularly if there's a counteroffensive in the south, they're going to have to clear a lot of minefields, and this couldn't come at a better time.
I appreciate that context. At this point in the war, what would your advice be for Zelensky?
Well, my advice would be keep doing what you're doing. He's taking out logistics, command and control, and what he's seeing, particularly down the south, but also in Zaporizhia area, not where the nuclear power plant is, not at the plant itself, but in that larger province, is that by taking out the logistics, taking out the command and control, it's degrading those frontline units. So when they kick off this big counteroffensive, those units won't have as much staying power. They're going to be short on supplies, on ammunition, and most of all, morale and a will to fight. And hopefully they'll be able to push them back a lot faster. So just keep doing what they're doing. Strategically, it seems to be working.
Hal, this is my last question for you tonight. You know, I do wonder how the average American is tracking this war as it drags into 5+ months, and we're talking about another aid package. Can you tell us, in your eyes, how is this war looking right now? Is this still winnable for Ukraine?
Well, I think for most, they look at this and say, hey, it's just dragging on. The reality is, actually, Ukraine is doing some key things to shape the battlefield to turn it into its favor. And the thing is, I've been there, Desert Storm, we saw that, it looked like it was a stalemate, and then we went through and we just pushed the Iraqis back. We shaped the battle space, shaped the battlefield in such a way that when we did do that big push, when we did cross the line of departure, if you will, the enemy fell back. And that's what the Ukrainians want to do. They want to shape things. They're doing that, particularly in Crimea, which has been a safe haven for Russian operations. They can't protect Crimea. You saw the drone getting all the way through their defenses to actually hit the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet in Sevastopol. That is a huge accomplishment in terms of weaponeering. So they're doing the right things. I think you're going to see in the coming weeks, if you will, some real shifts, but they're doing the right things.
All right, Hal Kempfer, thank you for putting this into perspective for us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.